Today I want to explain to you the story behind I Am, the power of affirmations, the story behind why I have this tattoo on my hand, what it meant to me, and how it actually really helped me shoot better in the sport of archery. For those of you that are new here, my name is Kaminski. I'm a two-time Olympic silver medalist in the sport of archery. I'm working to make this channel a great resource to all types of archery. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscription button and the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video is uploaded. I'd appreciate it. So I've had a few questions about why I have I Am on all my shirts, why I had I Am tattooed on my hand, and just some general questions about looking for more information on that. So I'm going to explain to you in this video what I Am means to me, how I've used it to actually become a better archer, a better human, and how you can use it to your advantage to make yourself a better human as well as a better archer. And I'm also going to explain to you the power of affirmations, how to use them, and how I use them to benefit my archery career. So, the story behind I Am. I have to give you a little bit of backstory and then the actual story itself, and that way you guys can understand it a bit more thoroughly. I've already explained a bit of this story during one of the lives that I did on this channel. But anyway, so I Am. When I first moved to the Olympic Training Center, I had basically just turned 18 years old. I think relatively shortly before then, maybe a couple months before moving to the Olympic Training Center. I moved out there 2 months before my first and only Junior World Team Championships, which was outside in 2006. And I had been shooting the best I had ever shot. I was shooting scores that were really, really high for myself and very competitive internationally. So I was extremely excited to get out there to compete for my country and to be able to see how I could do on the world circuit, because that was my first opportunity that I had ever made a junior world team. And so I was really excited to give it my all. Basically, I moved out to the training center, like I said, a month or two before World Championships. When we first went out there, Coach Lee said, we being me and Dan Schuler, who works for Lancaster Archery Supply, we were both out there before we went to Junior World Championships, and Brady was our third member on the team. And we had been shooting so well together, and we were doing quite well. And Coach Lee told us that we were not going to have our form changed before Junior World Championships. 2 weeks before Junior World Championships, he changed his mind, totally broke down our form. I went from shooting, I don't even remember the scores, I think I was shooting in the mid 320s at 70 meters on very consistently, and shooting really well, which would have been very competitive at that tournament at that time as a junior. And once they changed all the form, my scores just went down the tubes. I had the worst tournament I had ever shot in that I could remember. The scores were horrendous. I really don't think I shot scores that bad when I first picked up a recurve, to be honest. And it was horrendous. It was embarrassing. And it was the only time and the only opportunity that I'd have to shoot on the Junior World Circuit. So it was very disheartening, but I understood that I was there for a reason. I was there at the Olympic Training Center to make an Olympic team, not there to perform at a Junior World Championships. So I couldn't argue that fact. I couldn't argue with the coach, and I couldn't do anything but just change the form and go along with it. My entire form had changed. My entire equipment setup had changed. The only thing that was the same that I went to that tournament with was my riser and my sight bar. Everything else, my sight pin, my limbs, my arrows, my fletchings, my string, stabilizer setup, everything, finger tab, you name it, everything else had changed. Okay, so I guess the quiver was also the same too, but basically everything else had changed. And it was horrendous, and it really took the wind out of my sails and really didn't help with my mental confidence in my abilities and where I was heading in the sport. And since then, from that time period in 2006, it took me several years, at least 2 years, well through 2008, to really even start having some decent scores. So there was a 2-year time period that I was doing nothing but shooting archery full time. Literally living, eating, and breathing, and sleeping, and sweating, and crying archery. That was it. That's all I ever did. And I was really struggling because I knew I could do well. I knew I had the capability, and my teammates, my competitors, and everybody else were developing at a level quicker than I was through that time period, through that 2-year time period. And I really started to struggle mentally with not being able to control the situation and to have confidence in myself. So I started listening to, actually, I first heard it from my sister Liz, who was explaining to me the power of I am, the power of affirmations, and what that means. And so I started looking into it and reading into it and kind of researching it a little bit, and actually started using it in my life. So I am, period, which is on the hand, I am, period, is a statement that says you are, right? The way you approach things is not approaching things as if you have a lofty goal in mind. You approach things as if you have already achieved that lofty goal. And when you already act and believe and feel that you have already achieved that, then you're way more likely to actually have that happen. So there was many times throughout that 2-year time period that I was questioning whether or not I wanted to continue shooting and competing. I had seen many competitors and teammates who didn't do well, were not asked to come back next year to the training center. I was really just struggling to find myself as a human being, as well as to figure out how I would actually shoot archery and to get better in the sport as well. And it was tough. It was exhausting, and my self-confidence and my self-confidence was at a all-time low, and my self-doubt was at an all-time high. And so, we check our hand placement in the grip every single time before we shoot. And I thought, okay, what's a better place to put something on my hand to remind me to shoot every single arrow as if I had already achieved something. And so I used the affirmation, the statement, I am, period. Okay? So the difference between having a goal of, I'm going to go to the Olympic Games. Okay, great. Well, there has been a study that took people who had never really shot free throws in basketball from the free throw line, and they had, I think it was like 100 people, maybe it was 60 people. I can't remember how many people exactly, but there was a study that was done. They had everybody shoot 100 free throw attempts, and then they marked down how successful they were, or how many baskets they made. And then for the next month, they split that group in two. One team shot 100 free throws and in real life, and the other team did deep visualization and deep self-talk and visualized making shooting free throws, 100 free throws, the same amount that the actual of free throwers shot. But the difference between the two groups was that the people who were visualizing shooting free throws actually visualized not just shooting the free throw, but also the basketball dropping into the net itself and actually making the free throw. So they were visualizing and imprinting on their subconscious that they were making free throws every single day, 100 of them to be exact. Whereas the other team was shooting them and either missing them or making them. They were honing their skills and getting better as well because they were actually honing their skills. But they had some positive imprints on their subconscious of making the free throws, but also some negative imprints by missing the free throws. And then after the end of that month test period, they compared the two group samples again and had them shoot another 100 free throws. And the people who did the deep visualization made more free throws than the people who didn't. So, I thought to myself, I was like, okay, if that is the case, and if that is true, and if having a very, vivid visualization program in believing that you are not just doing an activity, but doing well at the activity, then you are more likely to achieve that. So instead of having the goal of, I want to become an Olympian, I want to go to the London 2012 Olympics, I want whatever Olympics it was, I want to become an Olympian. Great. Well, if you're competing and practicing and training as if you want to become an Olympian, you're always going to be wanting to. You're never actually going to become one. So my idea was, all right, I am an Olympian. I am Jake Kaminski. I am able and capable, and I will, right? So there's a difference in mental approach to those two things, those two approaches of I want to be or I am. And I am, period, is really, really powerful affirmation that I've used in every facet of my life, whether that be archery, family, or work-related, or whatever it is. I always act as if I have already achieved it, and then I just let the everything fall into place and let everything just kind of happen. It frees my mind a bit. It helps me focus more on the task at hand through a positive lens, and ultimately really help me shoot better in the long run and get better quicker once I really adopted that principle of I am. So as you can tell on just about all of my apparel that's available on TeeSpring, which you can find links in the description below. There's also a little slider across the bottom of this video. And then also there's links at my website to my TeeSpring store. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll put a link up here. Links in the description below too, of course. But you'll see that it says I am, and then barebow, recurve, whatever, or I am string walker, or whatever it is. And that is the story behind I am. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider hitting the subscription button and the notification bell, as well as the like button. I would appreciate it. Also, please consider supporting my channel. If you head to my website, jakekaminski.com, there'll be info and links on Patreon, apparel, books, and equipment sales, PayPal donate button, a P.O. box to send things to, and above all else, please share this video because there's no better advertising than word of mouth.